Hi, welcome back to Adult Arts and Crafts at the Kearney Public Library. Our project this month is using recycled book pages, and I promise you that no new books were harmed in the making of any of our supplies or of any of the examples that I'm going to show you. So, one example, your finished product will look something like this. And these are all just cones that we turned into kind of a dahlia looking flower. I have an origami butterfly that I thought might be kind of fun to add on to that later on. And then this is the other one that I did, another example. And in the middle of this one, rather than filling it all in with cones, I had one of those kutsudama flowers that we've made at other craft projects. And I think I'll just glue that in the middle there. It seemed to be kind of a nice accent. And then if you wanted to, you could certainly add a piece of string or ribbon or something so that you could hang it on your wall. So in each of your packets, very simple supplies, you will find a stack of pages. They are cut to a 4x4 size. We found that worked really well for the project. And then you'll find one of these cake rounds. And on here we have drawn a couple of circles just to give you an idea of how to get fairly even spacing for all of your cones once you apply those. And I have an example here of one that I started just to show you what it looks like once we start getting those onto the page or onto the backing. Supplies, basically you have what you need here, and then your ever trusty glue gun. This would be really hard to do, I think, with regular glue, but if that's what you've got, I'm sure it will work fine. It just will take a little bit longer. And what I found about this project is it just takes time to roll all the cones, but get all of those done first and then start building your wreath around it or your dahlia flower onto the cake round. So why don't we go ahead and get started, and I will show you how to continue once you get that first layer down. Thank you. All right, so why don't we go ahead and get started here. I'm just going to make some of these cones so you can kind of see how that works. I would put something down on your surface, otherwise they kind of glue themselves to the surface. But so if you're using your kitchen counter, whatever, it is kind of good to put one more layer down. So I just started rolling these by hand. Looks like we could need to resupply the glue gun here. And this does tend to really go through the glue sticks. So hope you have a healthy supply of those. But I just ran a line of glue down here, and then I kind of rolled it in because that saved my fingers from having all of the hot glue on it. And then when you get done, you've got your cone all set to go. So why don't we make a couple of those, and then we'll go ahead and start building on the wreath that I've got started, or the dahlia that I've already got started here. And you can wind these or roll them as tight or as loose as you wish. That is certainly personal preference. You get a slightly different look when you have the bigger cones. But with all of the pieces of paper being the same size, it does give you a fairly consistent piece to work with. And this is a project that is not super complicated, but it does take time because for the completed one that I showed you, it took about 70 pieces of paper. So I made 70 of these little guys to put on it. So it's just a patience thing. I do make all of the cones before I get started assembling the dahlia, but you know, whatever works best for you is always good. So I think you get the idea. You just keep rolling those and get those all set to go. And then I started lining these up on that first line. So there are two rings that we drew on the cake round for you. I snipped off the little edges there. You don't have to do that. It just made it really easy to line them up and make them all the same size. So that is what I did there. This is 17 around the outside. I found it takes about 17 per ring until you get into the middle, and then it's personal choice how dense or how loose you want that in there. So I think I will take a couple of these and snip it. I did not measure these, I just put them in to give it a little bit of room so that when I put that next layer in, it gives you the layers of a flower. And I will probably just snip off the end here, like an inch, half an inch. And then I did crush this just a little bit on the bottom because it made it easier to glue it onto the ongoing flower. And then I just put a little bit of glue on the back side and hold it there for a minute until it's down and it's going to stay in place. And we continue that around. I have seen some of these done with different colors of paper, so you could just, if you wanted it a particular theme, so you wanted it to be purple to go with your decor or something, or you wanted it to be school colors for a graduation party, you could do exactly the same thing with just plain cardstock, and then you just need to cut the pieces of paper to the size you want. I've seen ones where people did several different colors, and so they maybe had a darker color on the outside and then worked their way in with lighter colors, so it looked a bit like a starburst. Lots and lots of options that you could do. So I think you get the idea of just keep those rows going around. And there is some overlap here in the bottom. It doesn't matter because once you put that next row on, you're not going to see any of that. Like I said, it just takes time, and you keep working your way around the circle, and then you'll be ready for that next one. And then when you get to that very center part, so that's where we are so far. It's really kind of fun. It comes together pretty quickly as well. So on the center part, you have options. You could continue with the cones if you had smaller ones, and you could just keep stacking those in the middle. I had one of these flowers that we made for another program and thought it was pretty as the centerpiece, so I'm going to stick that in there, and then I might put a few of the smaller cones in the middle to fill in any gaps that I've got. So that one will just go in there. And if I really want to make sure it stayed, I might put a smidge of glue on one of these cones so that when it touches, they touch each other, it is anchored and it's not going to fall out when I hang it on the wall. But that's something you could also go back and do once you had everything in place. So lots of options there. And then, like I said, I would take one of these smaller ones. Wasn't quite finished sticking in there. And I would just trim it down a bit so that when it goes in, it's not really sticking up above the center of your flower. So that one I could just slide down in there. And for that, I think I'll just put it on the back side, slide it down in there, hold it for a minute, and it should be all set. So that one is ready to go. And then I can figure out if I want to attach some ribbon on the back. Maybe I want to put a hole punch in there so I can hang it up. Or maybe it makes a great centerpiece and you just want to lay it in the middle of your table to look at. So I hope you enjoyed this project. If you want to see other videos from our past arts and crafts projects, please look at our Facebook page, or you can find those on our website. And as always, we'll have a new project next month. Please do sign up because we have limited packets available. But if you don't get a packet, the supplies are fairly easy to come by. And we do always put that supply list up on our videos. So thank you for joining us once again for Arts and Crafts at the Kearney Public Library.